What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Motorfest. So last week I did not actually get a chance to post a summit, which I do apologize for, but with this game coming out, I honestly did not have a lot of time to jump on and do that. But for this week, guys, the American Dust, I will be obviously completing this one. Do keep in mind, by the way, I would say a lot of players most likely do not have maxed out vehicles, so I really do think this summit is going to be insanely fun, and or I would say a lot of summits at least coming up are most likely going to be insanely fun because of that reason. But next week's summit, guys, the American Racing has the lovely Ford GT as the reward. What's kind of interesting is I do remember seeing this car back on the Insider program. Funnily enough, I actually got this vehicle in this exact summit back on the Insiders program, so I really do think that's going to be a fun summit. You can also click on this here and or check out many of these events, so this one is going to be a great time. We have a nice mix of skills there and or some races you can also do. But going back to the other one though, guys, I really do think a lot of players most likely do not have maxed out vehicles, and I really do think it's most likely going to make this one a lot more fun. So if you guys do not have maxed out vehicles, do not worry. I would still recommend jumping into this summit and or at least completing these events, and that way you would also actually level the cars up from doing the said races, which funnily enough I actually got like 30 to 40, even 60 plus levels on the rally and or the monster truck vehicles doing this said summit. So I really do think it's also going to be a great way to actually level your cars up. You also do get money from those and all that good stuff, but there's a few things I do want to mention, by the way, guys. So first things first, for now on the Motorfest summits, I have decided something. So for now on, guys, in Motorfest, I will no longer be using pro settings on any of the vehicles for any of the challenges in the future, and I really do feel like this is actually one of the best things because now I can actually go through every single event and or show you guys like the best score you can get, but also getting into platinum every single week without even touching the pro settings. And I really do feel like this is a great way to do this. But do not worry, guys, I will also be posting the Crew 2 Summit later on today. I'm also planning on doing those for a while to come as well, so definitely stay tuned for those later on in like the afternoons on Wednesdays. And then of course, guys, stay tuned for the Motorfest Summit in the mornings and or like the Crew 2 Summits in the afternoon. But without further ado, guys, let's go take a look at this summit right now. So similar to the Crew 2, we obviously have 6 events here and or 3 of the regular skills. So for this week, we obviously have 3 escapes, and as you guys did guess it, I indeed did run the Koenigsegg Regera. I would probably say that's going to be one of the better vehicles to run, and I really do feel like using something like an Alpha GP vehicle is most likely going to be your best bet here, because obviously it is going to handle much better. But do keep in mind, guys, on this one you will obviously have to be off-road there in the beginning, so I would recommend using a hypercar at least for this part, and I would probably say a Chiron Super Sport is most likely going to be a great option. But and then moving over to the next escape, I once again did use the Koenigsegg Regera, but to be honest, guys, I would recommend using any hypercar of your choice like the Chiron Super Sport. I did notice many players are indeed running an Alpha GP car, but moving over to the next skill though is going to be another escape, and for this one I once again used a hypercar, and I would probably say a lot of people are most likely going to use a hypercar and or an Alpha GP vehicle, so I would recommend trying those out, guys, because they're most likely the best options. Now, I would say a lot of people are most likely going to be like me, and which is most likely not going to be like the best option for this, guys, because of course the Chiron is probably better and or using like an Alpha GP car, but I really am enjoying how these escapes actually are. Now, moving over to the events here, so there is going to be a different mix compared to like the Crew 2, so there is going to be 2 different monster truck events, then we're going to have 1 street tier 2, and then for the other events, guys, you're then going to have 3 rally events, which is of course a rallycross car. They did actually change that from the Crew 2 being a rallycross, so now it's a rally tomato, to be honest. But moving over to the last one is going to be a street tier 2 race. So starting off here, guys, with the monster truck event. So for the first one, you'll have to use the Camaro SS, and do not worry, it's actually not going to be a bad truck at all. And I would actually say the handling model for the monster trucks in the Crew Motorfest are by far much better than how they were in the Crew 2. So if you guys were not like the biggest fans of these vehicles in the Crew 2, I would recommend trying them and or at least giving them a bigger shot compared to before, because they really do handle much better than the Crew 2. So I would recommend trying them out if you guys were kind of mixed on them. And also one thing I did notice, guys, the Chevrolet Camaro handles pretty dang good for having stock settings on it. Like, I thought a lot of these vehicles actually had to be adjusted. Surprisingly, I did every single event in this summit with stock settings, and I have to admit it, a lot of these vehicles did perform a lot better than I thought, but I also do want to mention, by the way, guys, in the Monsters event here, I would recommend one thing. Do keep in mind you're actually going to be in a monster truck, so you don't actually have to stay on the road like the AI, which is kind of funny. And I did notice you can most likely be a lot faster in this event that way. But for the next event, guys, I did once again decide to run the Camaro SS. Surprisingly, it's not going to be a bad truck, but for this event, guys, I would definitely recommend watching out for the AI. Like, they really do not care. And my goodness, they also get stuck on like your tires and all that. So I did notice in some areas the AI can cause you to crash or, like run into a wall or something like that and or slow you down. But if you are level 500 like I am, you're most likely going to be slower than them. So it's basically going to be a war zone. Try not to get run off the road because my goodness, the AI are insanely fast. But moving over to the next event, guys, is going to be a rally race. And for this, I did once again decide to use the Ford Fiesta. That's most likely going to send me back to the crew too, because I really do love this car. But do keep in mind once again though, I'm only level 614, so my vehicle is not maxed out. I still managed to get over 90,000 points in this event, so imagine when my car is actually maxed out. I will most likely be hitting around maybe 100,000 points and or way more than that, but I will indeed have to max out my vehicles, which to be honest, I may actually jump back into the summit here and or level the cars up that way. But for the other one, guys, it's also going to be like a rally raid event. The reason why I mention that is these races are not made for a rallycross car, which you will most likely notice taking a Ford Fiesta down a mountain is most likely not going to be the best way to do so. But even then, guys, at level 604, I still got 100,000 points on this race. So if your vehicle is not maxed out, I would definitely recommend trying these anyway. And you can also like level up your cars from doing these races. So in a way, it's kind of like a win-win situation. But for this event though, guys, you will have to run the Camaro, which to be honest is not a bad car again. I would probably say in some areas it's obviously not going to be the best, but do keep in mind, guys, I am also running base pro settings on every vehicle, so I am not going to be tweaking any of these cars in future summits, and I really do feel like it's honestly going to be a great way. Do keep in mind I was also only level 592 in this, and I still managed to get 112,000 points, so you definitely do not need a maxed out car to do these summits, but moving over to the last one, guys, is going to be a Street Tier 2 race with the lovely Camaro Z01, which honestly sounds awesome. Unfortunately, this is not the race you guys most likely think it is. It is going to be that vintage car race, basically around like that crazy dirt track. And surprisingly though, guys, the Z01 was actually a decent car in this event. Like, you obviously have to use a street car in the mud, so you would most likely expect that said car to like basically slide everywhere, but the Z01 seemed to do pretty dang good. Now, one thing I can say, I would recommend being careful around the corners. Like, you don't have to be insanely quick. The big thing is to make sure your car's actually gripping. But overall though, guys, the second summit in Motorfest really was insanely fun. Even though my cars aren't maxed out, I really did have a great time actually doing this. So overall though, guys, I really did have a great time with this summit. Now, as I did mention before though, I will no longer be using any pro settings for the vehicles in the summits, guys, and I really do feel like it's honestly going to be like the best way to do this. That way you can also actually get into Platinum without having pro settings. But if you guys have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insight.